Persona 4 is often regarded as the most cheery, optimistic entry of the three mainline outings of this increasingly popular JRPG series, with its stellar voice cast representing an empathetic group of teenagers who are overloaded with natural chemistry. All signs point to a similarly lighthearted and slightly sappy conclusion. To be sure, compared to Persona 3, the fourth title is certainly brighter. The remixed edition is called Golden, after all. The hero doesn't pass away before reuniting with his best friends, for one thing. But Persona 4 has many more, and with that comes a much larger range of emotions, feelings, and thought-provoking questions. You may finish your journey feeling like the sun is forever shining brightly upon you, or you may be filled with a shocking feeling of emptiness. Today, let's discuss the varied conclusions that finalize Persona 4 Golden's narrative, and stay tuned until the end for one that you may not have been aware of. Other than that teaser, we're going to go in order of effort, that being the least to the most required. How far did you reach out to find the truth? You'll find the answers here. Please enjoy.
That is all.
The foundation for Persona 4's story is built on the murder mystery ravaging the small town of Inaba. Considering it stretches out for 9 months of game time, which very well could be 1 or 2 months real time for you, it's normal to want a quick sense of justice and resolution when the party finally has their prime suspect cornered in his own hospital room. Namatame is finally at your mercy, and not in the super powerful form he adorned in the TV world. Wow, even the bosses reek of the manipulation and puppeteering themes of this game. That's very clever. He is unquestionably the villain who kidnapped Nanako, fleeing with her after being tracked down by Dojima, the hero's uncle who is now in the hospital because of Namatame. He cowardly took off, seemingly holding the smoking gun with a diary and TV in his truck as evidence. And despite the timely rescue efforts of the party, Nanako is clearly in trouble when you arrive to save her, and she falls into a comatose state before eventually dying on the night of December 3rd.
Big Bro. Daddy.
Nanako!
A grief-stricken Dojima unsuccessfully tries to do Namatame in himself, and minutes later, here the hero stands, with all of his friends and no witnesses, able to end this once and for all. There is a 0% chance of any of the party being blamed for this.
We can't let this bastard do whatever he pleases.
Listen to me. If we're gonna do this, now is our only shot. We won't get a second chance.
And hey, as Adachi would use as justification as well, the high schoolers wouldn't technically be murderers. It's the shadows that do the job. What's more, Namatame's shadow itself appears on the Midnight Channel as if to reinforce how insane and wrong his intentions were. So that should settle it. Yosuke sure seems to think so.
At this rate, the guy's gonna get off the hook, and he'll go around saving people again. If that happens, it'll be just like Nanako-chan and Senpai. Who knows how many innocent people will die this time?
Of course, the party has reservations. Regardless of how impossible it would be to trace anything to the teenagers, that guilt would weigh heavily on their minds. But Yosuke wants revenge. The police were only distracted from the room because of Dojima. They'll be back right away, and the party needs to decide quickly. If you concur with the evidence presented and choose to take things exactly as they appear, then the hero assists Yosuke in putting Namatame through the TV screen. He dies, eventually, from the shadows as planned, with both the police and public believing it was him ending his own life. Yosuke half-heartedly attempts to appeal to Nanako as their actions being justice, that they have avenged her, but she doesn't recover and is lost forever, as is Teddy. And there's not even an explanation given here. He just leaves behind a note and goes back to the TV world. You don't even get a glimpse. And he is so demoralized, he fails to have anything to give Nanako to encourage her to live on. These tragic outcomes hit you back to back, and you quickly learn that there must have been something that you've missed. But despite having the option to say just that, you simply let the hero agree that action needs to happen, that someone must be the real suspect. It might as well be this guy.
Are you sure about this? You really mean it? There's no other way?
As the time jumps to reinforce how quickly the party wanted to move on with their lives, you suddenly find the protagonist on the day before moving back home, talking with Dojima one last time. It's tough to hear just how despondent Dojima's remaining life is going to be.
Starting tomorrow, I'll be all by myself in this house. It's gonna be lonely.
There's nothing else for him besides his work now. Yes, he struggled as a father, but he truly loved his daughter, and probably only found true meaning in his life because Nanako was depending on him. Now, he will simply work himself into what will likely be an early grave, as evidenced from his protests when Nanako's health became grave.
You need to return to your...
I don't give a damn about myself. Do something about Nanako. Just save her. For God's sake, please save Nanako.
The fog persists, and the hero leaves Inaba with muted goodbyes from his party members, and without any fanfare at all.
Be sure to take good care of yourself.
As Chie says, their story was over way too quick. He and the others did the absolute least amount of work possible, and what they ultimately found was an unsettling sense of failure, even though they outwardly reassure each other that they did the right thing. Adachi doesn't even get questioned, and is able to do whatever he wants with his freedom, with absolutely no one suspecting him, and the truth is shrouded in more fog than ever. This ending is so bleak. For players who are unable to see another path, they immediately regret it. The most lovable character's life ends unjustly. You get no second chance to fix anything, and it immediately skips to the train ride home, featuring what used to be a colorful, hilarious cast as nothing but, excuse the pun, shadows of their former selves. You think back to the urgent text box that states bluntly, there will be major advances in the plot, and hopefully, you heeded this advice. If you're lucky, you can go back to that December 3rd date, and perhaps, if you do things even a bit differently, things will turn out better. So, let's see if that's the case.
Oh, there they are. Nanako-chan came around.
Huh? What did you just say?
So, maybe you're able to resist that impulse, that reactionary feeling of getting away scot-free and ending the whole thing. As becomes clarified later on, the Shadow Namatame is merely manifesting itself in a way that the party feels it would. They want him to be the culprit, so what they see and hear is a Namatame that provokes them and confirms he will keep doing what he's always been doing.
I'll continue saving people. It's my mission.
His case is compelling, but you see through this because there's just something that doesn't sit right. And as Naoto mentions, it's not testimony from Namatame himself, but rather his shadow. This is tricky because you have to go through a lot of correct dialogue options to pacify a very enraged Yosuke who gets gradually more agitated the more it appears that the hero is just stalling.
What didn't you understand? Well, what is it? Are you even getting at something here, or are you just stalling?
One wrong move here, and you lose this argument, prompting a bad ending. My favorite part of this sequence is how the "calm the hell down" response at the end, one that on the surface would appear to be catastrophic, is actually the perfect answer. The protagonist knows that everyone is frustrated, so is he, which is very rare, and he spazzes out at his friends because despite those feelings, he knows it's just not right, and this snaps everyone back to reality, as the subsequent dialogue shows. From here, even if you fail in everything else from here on in, the most important difference is that Nanako is resuscitated. She is the arcana of justice, after all, and by not condemning Namatame to death without proof, the hero and his friends, at the very least, have taken those baby steps to uphold what is right. The team gets back together at headquarters, and as you thought, previous unsolved mysteries, like the warning letter the hero got much earlier, have new shadows of doubt cast upon them, given the directness of the wording, helping the party to realize that Namatame wasn't the one who wrote the thing in the first place. A stealthy interview with the delivery man occurs next, and it becomes quite clear that, while still not completely right in the head, he truly believed he was saving people.
Since you thought people who appeared on the Midnight Channel would be killed, you kidnapped us in order to save us.
With the prime suspect vindicated, this spurs them on to patrol the town and try to find any hints of clues to a murder mystery whose trail has long since gone cold, and that the dispirited public of Inaba simply want to forget about, made worse with their paranoia of the fog, reinforcing the wants of humanity. No one wants to dig into a dirty truth. Even if there are still lingering doubts, it's so much easier to just pretend and show ignorance. It's a great tie-in to the fog and disillusionment motif that the story at large presents. However, despite the party's efforts, there's no huge breakthrough in the case. Even with the help of a trained detective in Naoto, it's not easy to find a culprit without any new data. You sort through legitimately dozens of options in your head, from the core members of the investigation team, to family members, even to the random populace of the school. But nothing rings a bell, and as Yosuke so aptly puts it, the entire thing is lost in the fog.
The truth will be forever lost in darkness.
Well, for us, it's more like it's lost in the fog.
This ending is similarly depressing. From the party's point of view, it's probably the most frustrating ending, because unlike the worst ending, they know that the truth is still out there, and they go out of their way to find it. But they simply can't catch on to the subtle hints that have been playing out over the course of their investigation. The response then, when the hero leaves, is similarly subdued. As before, Teddy refuses to return to the human world as he's lost all faith in himself, though you do at least get confirmation of him back in his homeworld. There's also a big solace that makes it more tolerable, because although Nanako will take a long time to recover, she does survive. And Dojima is spared of a listless, robotic existence as a hard-boiled detective and nothing else, though he remains unconvinced of Namatame's guilt.
The more I interrogate him, the more I start to question myself. Did Namatame really murder 2 people?
Namatame himself likely spends the rest of his life in a psych ward or mental hospital, being completely ignored. But while it's not a happy fate, at least it wasn't a cold-blooded dispatch from the investigation team, as it was before. We watch the hero board the train, knowing that at least something good came from it, but that eerie fog reminds the player that they simply didn't piece enough together to find the truth. So, where is it?
Right? I mean, really? Adachi? He's your textbook lousy detective. Are we really on the right track here?
Actually, regarding Detective Adachi,
I'm quite confident you were able to make it this far. You've picked up on the cues. You've realized how Adachi seems to inadvertently blab out unnecessary yet crucial information to the protagonist, and how he shows up inexplicably during many of the party's gatherings around Junes and in Inaba. You understand how he could easily be the one to have dropped off a warning letter right to the protagonist's doorstep without arousing any suspicion, and caught him simply happy to confirm Namatame's guilt at the drop of a hat when Naoto finds the delivery man's diary.
even the victims who survived and were never released to the public are written here.
Wow, and that settles it.
How, I wonder? Would that settle anything?
The hero combines all of these subtle hints to create an acceptable modus operandi for Adachi, sharing this with Naoto and Yosuke, and, upon discussing with the party, they sense that there is enough there to investigate one final time. Seeing Adachi crack is satisfying.
'Cause we think it might have been you.
That's ridiculous! We already know Namatame's the one who put them all in!
What did you just say?
Put them all in.
Doubly so, knowing Dojima was right there to witness the slip-up. You know things are turning in the right direction when Teddy is summoned to the Velvet Room, getting caught up to speed by communicating with the hero in this dreamlike state, which in turn restores his purpose and allows him to make his way back to the human world. This miracle not only keeps Nanako alive, it helps her regain consciousness immediately. And while I despise Teddy in most of his interactions, it's heartwarming to see him slink back to the party in the hour of most need, as Rise can't find where Adachi is hiding. With Bear now in tow Nanako, the likely final dungeon of the game begins, where even more truths are revealed. The previous ending, where Namatame is spared, allows you to hear the plot events from his perspective. It's so revealing when you take the time to talk to Namatame at the hospital and find out that, yeah, in his mind, he really was saving people. Every time he threw someone into the TV, the party would rescue them after he witnessed his own lover and Saki being tortured on the Midnight Channel, which in turn was torturing himself. But now you see the final missing piece, that Adachi was on the line, having picked up Namatame's distress call to the police and using this good luck to manipulate him into doing Adachi's own bidding for him. Even when people were being saved, the amusement was so thrilling. He didn't even care if people were dying or not.
Both sides had the best of intentions, so the game of cat and mouse would never end. It was awesome.
That poor delivery, man. If you resorted to the worst ending before finding this one, you feel an astonishing retroactive sense of guilt, as you had sentenced a very flawed, but ultimately good-intended human to death. It's very powerful when you look at the true explanation of his story. This is the first step towards a truly happy ending as the game extends and you find yourself in a whole new dungeon. And, for the first time, you witness Adachi for the creep and inhuman specimen he truly is within these flashbacks, forcing himself on Mayumi Yamano, showing utter glee at how the TV powers worked, and then becoming even more deplorable with his treatment of Saki Konishi. Jesus, this is just messed up. This drives the party into engaging into hand-to-hand combat against the felon, who is able to summon his own persona, naturally due to the power he received from some mysterious individual upon his arrival in Inaba. Even just getting to this point here, where he's defeated and has to face reality instead of playing his own power game, it's enough to bring a great deal of satisfaction to the player, since he was the human entity responsible for the murder spree.
Live and face your punishment. That's how it works in our world.
Right.
However, the party also immediately is forced to witness this Amano Sagiri godlike creature. This ridiculously huge eyeball who drones on and on about how humanity is much more happy in the fog, and how we tend to view things only as we wish to see them, which harkens back to the potential bad ending. Sagiri also drops some easy-to-miss details, like how truth manifests as the light breaking through the fog, which is what kills the victims, and a hollow forest that we'll investigate later. This being detests the party, who seems to persist, despite being at odds with what the collective wants, and is surprised to see how they've mastered their other selves.
Yes, that I did not foresee.
It's a substantial step towards the truth, because the hero and his friends see the much larger scale of things and get a glimpse of the being behind the curtain, as it were, inferring that Adachi, Namatame, and even the hero himself were all being manipulated from the start in order to see how the events would play out if these three were given a gift, which, again, we'll dive into soon. Sagiri then insists it needs to test the resolve of these rebellious figures. It's a fairly simple boss fight, but I simply enjoy the whole integration of the metaphors. The all-seeing eye is so damn huge, you get the feeling it could have watched over all the events playing out at its leisure. And the bewildering fog move completely nullifies any of your attacks, but you can still make use of this time by preparing for the fog to lose its impact so you can strike, which is what the whole lead up to the game has been building to. It also harkens back to the prologue, where the protagonist shows some ability to at least minimally damage this fog-shrouded figure, but he needs a lot more preparation before he can even hope to find his way through the mist and see what the real problem is. Your reward is similarly cathartic, with the evil eyeball content with the inner will of the heroes, at least temporarily submitting to their desires and accepting them as the will of humankind.
Mankind's desires are my desires.
Once they get back to Inaba, the months-long density of green, oppressive fog is completely cleared. It's pure blue skies and sun for the first time. Even during the sunny days in the regular game progression, it didn't boast this sense of clarity, peace, and freedom. You are able to fully bask in that freedom of an Inaba that no longer is under a malevolent force of otherworldly nature. But the best part is that the game greatly extends from here. You get so much extra time to spend with the people you've come to cherish. You have the whole cake scene with that glorious fake out when Nanako eats it.
Wait, Nanako-chan! I'll be the first one to... No!
No!
It's delicious!
A New Year's Eve gathering to celebrate what must feel like the biggest fresh start any of the crew have ever had. Adorable days with Nanako, building snowmen and playing hide and seek in the Junes store, a cinematic ski trip vacation, and more time to spend building up your social links. Speaking of, once March hits, the hero now has time to fully reconnect with his irreplaceable social links before he goes back, and you get a generous helping of emotional goodbyes as you talk to everyone who has helped the hero progress to this point. It's great that you have to find this good ending in order to do this, because if you were able to in the bad endings, you'd be doing so while Adachi is still at large, and who knows who he could have targeted next.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Like, I can see him stooping so low as to throw the kindly old death woman into a TV. So, the finality you get in this instance feels justifiable, positive, and happy. Dojima finds a much-deserved sense of closure too, as he always had doubts about Namatame being the true suspect. Even though it pains him to know that his own partner was so messed up, he will sleep much better at night, especially since Nanako's recovery is rapidly shortened, to the point where she can join the hero for his goodbye.
Big bro, I don't want you to go away.
Nanako.
The group is much more animated and thankful towards the protagonist as he departs amidst a setting of clear skies and infinite horizons, joined this time by Dojima and Nanako. It's sappy, but genuinely so, seeing the teenagers running alongside the train like all of the cliched romance movies of yesteryear, and you're given a much brighter, personalized montage of each of the hero's friends' biggest moments as the credits finally roll. This is an ending that seems to check all the boxes. However...
Goodbye. Accept the reality of your death.
There is still more to achieve to grasp that true ending, and it all comes down to a very easily missed choice that you can make after making time to visit all the treasured people who have helped the hero out. Once you've made your peace with the residents of Inaba, a seemingly innocuous dialogue pops up asking you if you're ready to head back home and prepare to leave. This unremarkably bland text box option is the most crucial choice in the entire game. Saying yes means that the previously good ending that I described plays out. However, if you're still not satisfied, if there's still something that's been clawing at you, you head back to Junes and go for one last look at the investigation team's headquarters, which the hero, Yosuke, and Chie had established almost an entire year ago. What begins as a simple reminiscing session builds momentum, eventually evolving into questioning what the Midnight Channel really was, how it got started, and, crucially, just why did the hero, along with Adachi and Namatame, get the power to enter the TV? I mean, the hero could do it before even getting a persona. Adachi's letter, too, expresses discontent at just how he got his own power, only knowing that it was acquired soon after his own work transfer to Inaba. This hint makes the hero harken back to his own arrival in the town, struggling to figure out who it was that gave him a little nudge towards the game that the entity wanted. And, of course, it's the gas attendant. The most minor, wallflower character, someone I, and probably you, figured was inconsequential. Sure, the controller rumbled when he shook the hero's hand, but that's just a gimmick which plays out during the other events, like the fishing minigame, for example. And sure, he has a voiceover for his dialogue.
Speaking of which, we're actually looking for part-time help right now.
But it's the opening scene of the game. Of course they're gonna use voiceover for all the lines here. This reveal is so awesome.
You really are troublesome.
When you look back on it, there is something odd about this guy. He's only, yet always, available to talk to when it's raining outside, when few others are out and about. So despite how random it seems, there are subtle cues given to players that there's something up with him. He shows great curiosity towards the events that are unfolding, and he mentions how he's lived here for so long, yet clearly looks about the same age as the hero, so that's an odd thing for someone so young to say. Soon enough, it's revealed that the gas attendant is in fact Izanami, another godlike being who was eager to see how the three individuals that were granted power would react. And yet another challenge is offered. The hero obtains the Orb of Sight from Igor, who seems delighted that you've gotten this far, and the party ascends to the final dungeon in the game, facing off against the one true mastermind of everything. Izanami really spits some truth here, hitting narcissism's essence on the head when talking about how we compare ourselves to others to find our own self-worth at times.
Only by comparing yourself to others can you define yourselves. Thus, your ever-present anxiety.
Even Naoto has to agree with a lot of the points, but of course, that's only one path. And the whole party's resolve is as one when they insist that they are in it for the real truth. I especially like the send-off message before the battle begins. It's a real sense of finality, shows how much the party cares for the hero. And speaking of finality, how about that absolutely epic battle music, suitably redoing the Reach Out to the Truth theme into an orchestral masterpiece. Just get chills during this entire confrontation. Emotions continue to flow as the protagonist party members, one by one, sacrifice themselves to keep their leader fighting as the death curse spreads. Until even that isn't enough. He succumbs, and all hope seems lost.
It's unfortunate that our battle must end this way.
No, get up! We came so far!
And here's where a parallel between Persona 3 and 4 comes in, with the protagonist seemingly beaten and against impossible odds, but using the power of friendship and camaraderie to remind him of what it is that he's fighting for. Every single one of your maxed social links makes an appearance to remind you of that true essence, the pure bonds between people that help us get through days, see through the fog, and rely on each other, even in our darkest hours.
The people do not wish for a world enveloped in fog. There are times when they'll stop and think they can't go another step, but everyone desperately pushes on.
It's a very real message, and if you haven't found this out for yourself in your own reality yet, you'll face it, sooner or later. Even Adachi would rather the world face the truth as he has, than the party to die and have nothing change.
Get up. You're not like me, right?
Although he thankfully doesn't have to sacrifice himself as a Persona 3 protagonist does, that mirroring of using an ultimate skill to bring purity and faith back to the world is emotional if you're a longtime fan of the franchise. And when you finally prove to this puppeteering prick that, no, settling for ignorance is not enough, even though that would be easy, and that truth is worth it in the end, despite the arduous struggles and the pain it will inevitably inflict upon you. Even the TV world can't suppress the party's ironclad will, as the companions prevail and its true form is laid bare for all to see. A pristine paradise seemingly ripped out of the most idyllic fantasy novel, a place that Teddy had forgotten about before he had even forgotten that he was a mere shadow. The subsequent departure is even more emotional, as Rise can't bear to... Yeah, that explains it better than I can. Igor summarizes effectively just how much you've accomplished. There truly were so many opportunities to just call it a day, right until the very last moment, and each one could be justified, as we've explored in depth in every single ending thus far. However, the hero, his party, and you have managed to always push forward to the ultimate truth. The game's final reward is an extended cinematic, with the hero taking back a treasured photograph to remind him of his amazing junior high school year.
Our hearts are one. Right, Sensei?
How's that for a true ending? And once you witness this miracle of nature, you can finally rest. Right? Not so fast.
You're late.
Upon beginning your Golden playthrough, you know that Marie is going to be a pivotal character. She's literally the very first person the hero meets after Dojima and Nanako when he disembarks the train. You eventually find her in the Velvet Room and learn how she was not born of man, and that she wants to learn about the outside world. And in the most cliched revelation ever, she's lost all her memories and has nothing to identify herself with besides this comb made from extremely rare material. Now, if you don't care much for Marie's obliviousness, her humorous but snarky insults strung together in multi-word one-liners,
Of course I remember, you stupid jerk-faced twart.
or her honestly useless ability to clone ability cards, then the true ending can stand pat as the final experience for Golden. But if you pursue Marie's social link, you'll discover that she exists as a conduit for the Sagiri god powers, and that it's her destiny to absorb the fog should it be lifted, which is why it clears, and why she leaves the town entirely in the waning days of December. If you hadn't maxed Marie's social link, this is where it ends. She disappears into the Hollow Forest and dies there, alone, with no one to talk to, fulfilling a tragic self-fulfilling prophecy. It's pretty bleak and depressing, especially considering that this can still happen, despite the party triumphantly vanquishing the fog and being celebratory, thinking everything is all fine. But max this link, and you'll be able to inquire to Margaret that Marie mentioned going away. And though it takes her a couple months, Margaret is able to pinpoint Marie's location, which adds a whole new subplot to that ski vacation segment of the game, where the hero and a chosen companion get lost in a snowstorm, take shelter in what they think is an abandoned cottage, and are found out by the group who make the most egregious assumptions possible due to their TV screen curiosity. Soon after, Margaret tugs the whole party into this old TV, into the Hollow Forest. And I gotta say, it's cool that Margaret reveals herself to the party. The Velvet Room, Igor, and his assistants, those are almost exclusively reserved to the protagonist, so it resoundingly makes the stakes feel raised, knowing Margaret summons the entire crew to help pinpoint Marie. As you progress through this final trial, you see clearly Marie's nihilistic mindset towards herself, and how she is yet another of the villains, or at least she tries to paint herself that way, to deter the party from saving her, almost right to the end.
It's all okay. I've already made enough memories of my own. Fun, happy memories.
You find out about the true nature of her purpose, how she's been used as a means to an end by the Sagiri to absorb the fog. But the persistence pays off, and you risk destroying a monstrous shell body to set Marie's mind free. Marie's dumbfounded at how and why the party would be risking so much, because she still hasn't found the real meaning behind bonds and friendship.
Please, just go home! All you losers! You just don't know when to quit! I never should have met any of you, especially you! I hate you!
It all doesn't make sense to her. Remember, she was all about how there is no real truth, despite the party's efforts before. And how could she? Izanami doesn't even think enough of her to regard her by name, just really derogatory descriptions. It's soul-crushing to hear this, which makes it all more meaningful when the first action she takes upon being saved is giving the protagonist a long, meaningful hug, because she doesn't want to lose this most important truth and bond that she's ever found. After all, it was her biggest dream to make more memories, and how many of those can you make if you're by yourself? From here, you need to go through the true ending path, as you did before, but you're given an entirely new epilogue scene taking place months later, where you learn a lot more about the fates of the core players in the narrative. The entire group has matured and changed their hairstyles and clothing tastes, from Yukiko's more formal hair bun, symbolizing her acceptance of becoming the heir apparent inn manager, to Kanji's styling new natural black hair and nerd ensemble. Naoto has fully embraced her femininity, and Teddy remains as the most obnoxious and annoying thing to ever grace a video game. Namatame has reformed himself and is now a convincing public speaker, running for Inaba's next mayor. Dojima even references Adachi, who seems to have found a way to find new meaning, even within his perpetual prison existence, while also keeping his sense of humor. I'm torn on this, honestly. Adachi legitimately murdered 2 people. Even if one takes the most lenient stance possible and calls Mayumi's incident as an accident, since Adachi wasn't aware of the extent of his power or that people would die, Saki Konishi was completely intentional, and this was after he knew victims died in there, so he shouldn't be getting such a humorous, happy ending in my view. Thankfully, in a heartwarming tidbit, we learn that Dojima has finally found a lead on who struck and killed his wife in a hit and run, and this was a thread that went forever unsolved in any other edition, so it really makes you feel good for this emotionally tormented man. And Marie herself becomes famous as the new weather lady, except given her omnipotent god powers, she can literally choose what kind of weather happens on what day.
We've been having a lot of rain recently, so starting today, I'm gonna make it sunny. Before that, a personal message. I'm doing just fine. Love you. What?
I adore how jealous Rise gets, along with how fast she finds fame. The sense of closure from this extra scene makes the extended effort worth it, just to see everyone moving on with their lives while still being as close-knit as they were before. They genuinely adore the hero, as this reunion supper confirms.
Well then. One and...
It's good to see you, Senpai!
Kanji, it was welcome back. How could you mess that up?
And the updated ending photograph reinforces the enduring friendship and the fact that the cast is growing and changing. I think Teddy even got a bit taller. It's almost completely the opposite of Persona 3, which features a dying hero who doesn't even get to say goodbye in the first place. So this leaves the player with a much more comfortable, happy, but still sappy reunion-style finale that makes you feel all good inside.
I just got stage fright, that's
Well, I figured someone would blow it.
Good place to end, correct? Well, let's look at something completely different. Persona fans out there, do you remember the bleakness of Persona 3's bad ending? How Yukari completely discards her truth-seeking self and gives in to not worrying about anything? How Mitsuru has no memory of what exactly killed her father while delivering her droning speech? And those last moments of Junpei, the hero, and Yukari just mindlessly doing their own thing in the karaoke booth, disconnected, right up until the very second that the fall happens? Yeah. Bleak, right? Well, here's a hot take for you. Persona 4's worst ending is 1,000,000 times more disturbing. Throughout your playthrough of the Golden version, you're intrigued to discover that Adachi gets his own social link. This doofus reveals his own insecurities, as he repeatedly shuns the caring efforts of an old woman because it's so unlike what his traumatic childhood was used to, with his parents being emotionally distant and only concerned with his academic performance. You see many flaws that you already knew, and brand new ones, like how he only wants to date knockout women who know how to cook, which isn't surprising given how shallow he is. But you also have the hero invite Adachi to the Dojima residence for dinner, where he spends time with Nanako, telling bad jokes, doing amusing magic tricks that delight the young Dojima, and even helping her with homework, in Adachi's trademark, sleazy, bare minimum style. He even consoles the hero and tells him to get some rest when Dojima and Nanako are out of commission. Of course, thinking logically, the plot evidences begin to add up against Adachi, but if you're a gentle soul, someone who is moved by seemingly genuine acts of kindness, you can keep your suspicion of Adachi a secret. Even when the game prompts you to reconsider this, simply doing this is bad enough, because, as many players already knew from years ago, Adachi is the culprit, so you can't ever have a good ending play out anymore. There's no one else you can find a lead towards. You may even talk with him at the police station and attempt to make him confess his crime. But if you're vague with your responses, he simply leaves, as does the hero, and the same bad ending plays out, as if you failed to pin the culprit altogether. But that's not even the worst of it. The hero can go all in with Adachi's coercion, wanting to believe that he is a good person. The protagonist insists he's on the detective's side. He wants to believe in him, even despite this pretty blatant warning about how awful of a betrayal it would be to assist him. The hero goes so far as to burn that threatening letter, the only physical evidence linking Adachi to the murders, which he has kept away from the forensics team. All in the hopes of Dojima's flunky being put on a new path. And instead, the response you get is... Holy hell. This is when you know you've made a terrible, irreversible mistake. Next thing, he blackmails the hero since, hey, he did burn evidence, which is a crime, phoning him on his cell and assuring him how useless it would be to change his number, insisting that he damn well better answer if Adachi needs to talk to him. And the dagger?
Goodbye, partner.
Oof. What does that remind you of?
You really helped us out with lots of stuff. Thanks, partner.
You got it. Yosuke had called the hero this almost from the outset. He really looked up to him, wanted to be there for him during every new occurrence. They spent weeks, months, almost a whole year together trying to unravel the mystery and give justice to the victims, prevent any more from facing a similar fate. Even when Yosuke was blinded by rage and wanted to shove Namatame into the TV, he still had enough respect and admiration to ask the hero what the team should do before acting.
As for me, nothing could make me forgive this bastard. But before we do this, I want to hear what you think. What do you want to do, leader?
A true friend, which Yosuke had been unable to find since transferring over to Inaba himself.
Well, we're all counting on you, partner.
And in less than 5 minutes, the hero throws it all away on a pie-in-the-sky fantasy that Adachi would do an about-face, show regret, and confess his sins, which even Adachi himself confirmed was stupid of the hero to do beforehand.
The person you believed in was a version of me who only existed in your head.
The cinematic that follows is equally unsettling. The way the hero notices this vague figure shambling near the railroad tracks, the camera revealing Adachi's angular facial structure as he smirks, and that intense anxiety and helplessness of the hero clutching his alarming cell phone as the train disappears into the tunnel, going away from Inaba, but forever linked to a psychopath killer who can now do anything he wants, threaten any of the hero's friends, take Nanako, hold Dojima hostage. He can do anything and have the hero at his beck and call. It's eerie, sadistic, and awful. And yeah, I'd say that this is the most evil, traumatizing ending to surface in Persona's history. Don't get me wrong, Persona 3 is obsessed with death, and its grim telling of the Fall ending, where the hero just turns a blind eye to everything, only for the entire world to either turn into shadows or have humanity wiped out. That's extremely pessimistic, but at least in that case, the suffering does end for everyone equally. In Persona 4, the suffering has only begun because, well, look at this guy! There's no telling what he may do now that he's completely off the hook with no one to stop him. His games can continue for as long as he wants.
What do you think will happen if I shoot you? Wow, very optimistic. Is your brain rotting or something?
But that's just one Persona fan's opinion. What ending did you achieve during your first time through, gamers? Was it way back in 2008 on the PS2? Or much more recent? Did you come across any surprising revelations during your own experiences? I'd love to hear what you think of the many endings this amazing JRPG has to offer. If you're a fan of the series, I have a similar video on Persona 3 Reload's 2 conclusions as well. And a whole bunch of social link ranking videos. Good to see ya. Thanks for sharing your time with me, and take care.
This is the cause of all the fog?